Welcome to the TulipDAO for our 28th Investors AMA with the ByteMasons. We are joined today by Beebis, and we have Azrium and Crypto AS. Welcome, guys. I'm really excited to talk today. Welcome to the TulipDAO.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah, thanks a lot. This is I joined this Discord a while ago, but I've never really been active, so it's cool to get some, intimate time with you guys.
Yeah, for sure. Give like a brief overview of ByteMasons. I know you guys got the mission posted up. I've read it. There's a lot of people who are familiar with it, but if maybe somebody hasn't heard of the ByteMasons, just a quick spiel if you could, and a little background on your team.
Yeah, so basically, ByteMasons were founded in late 2020 as a mentorship collective. So essentially, like growing and learning Web3 engineering together. In early 2021, we joined the Kernel OX Fellowship, Block 1, or at least I did, and we also participated in Block 2 as a team. And we started workshopping DeFi primitives, kind of ideating, and then in April, May of 2021, we launched Reaper when we saw an explicit need on the Phantom network for a yield aggregator. So from that point, we've kind of, gone from myself and two of my friends to 35, 36 people, plus a handful of contractors and rotators and whatnot. And in the process, we've, hit a lot of milestones. We nailed 300 million TVL without a token, which, I'm personally really proud of. We've been in 10 to 20 war rooms, helping teams across the network recover from disasters. And just in general, we've been trying to push the limits of DeFi and finance in general, and even Web3. So yeah, we're a little bit all over the place. We have all sorts of strategies to dominate the space. And we can kind of dig in on those a little bit more. Do you have anything to add, Azrium and AS?
You always sum up things so well. You speak so eloquently. I need your speaking skills.
Nice.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
I think you nailed it.
okay. Yeah, that's basically our thing. Just grassroots, self-funded organization, and then eventually, we launched the Oath token and got a lot of funding from our users, and now we operate on that, and that's our war chest to dominate the world, hopefully.
Right. Yeah. No, that was very well put. I think you really nailed it. It's really nice to see people standing tall with integrity and doing, and holding true to blockchain principles and pushing the space in the right direction. It's so refreshing. You guys have no fucking idea. Like,
Yeah, thanks a lot.
no, seriously. Like, we don't have. You probably haven't heard enough from me and from TulipDAO about how we feel about ByteMasons but the truth is like we have a lot of similarities. We just don't have as much dev power as you guys.
Yeah.
But when it comes to principles and stuff, there's a similar vein there, and it's really what draws me to you guys and what you're doing. And just to let you know, really impressed, and it makes me happy to see somebody on Phantom and really representing what the space should be about. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, man. Yeah, no doubt. Thank all you guys. So, um, from there, if you could just touch on the team, because I know you guys got a big team. You don't have to go through every person on the list, obviously, but if you could, like, let us know how many people, who's doing what, a brief overview on the team.
Sure. We're at 35 people plus like an extra 5 peripheral entities that we contract on a fairly regular basis. Um, and we are kind of moving toward like a more traditional hierarchic corporate structure to like a holacratic one, which would be one where everybody kind of acts autonomously and is in charge of one particular business domain or subdomain, depending on their seniority within the company. Um, In other words, I think we're really well organized, despite being fairly large for a decentralized organization like this. Kind of our first thing when we looked at the DAO business model is we were like, wow, this is crazy inefficient, because if you're given too much freedom, you kind of like just wander around and do nothing. If you're given too little freedom, you get kind of annoyed and do nothing. So we try to find a balance between structure and freedom to kind of pursue your business domain. So we've got a huge engineering team, around 20 people I would have to count, to be honest. But we're mainly an engineering firm. Unfortunately for Asrim, we don't have a huge focus on marketing yet. We're kind of pouring money into product development right now, and then probably once we are sufficiently ahead of the competition in terms of tech, we'll start moving a lot of that investment into kind of marketing and growth. But otherwise, yeah, we have a whole finance department, biz dev department. That's what Crypto AS leads off. We have a whole education department. If you've ever read the lrn.fi website, we've got a ton of free educational content on there. Azram heads off our marketing department. Our operations department is led by Samson, if you've ever seen him in the Discord. Then our security is led by Goober, and our research is led by Mr. OXTFT, who is a math PhD from Berkeley. And I work a lot with him lately, trying to make sure that we're the smartest team on the blockchain. And I'm sure AS probably has a lot to add to that, and Azra, maybe if you want to provide some
Yeah,
insight from your end.
sure. Yeah. Hey guys, I'm Crypto AS. Yeah, like Beavis said, I kind of lead up our business development efforts. A lot of that's kind of behind the scenes, business to business. So not a lot of it has been publicized yet. But honestly, we've been working in the background on BD for almost 6 months now. So hopefully we'll have some stuff coming out of the woodwork here pretty soon that we can talk to you guys about. It's pretty exciting. We're meeting with a lot of folks almost every day. So we have a lot of things in the pipeline. Yeah, really exciting work.
Yeah, and like Beavis said, I'm Azrium. I head up the marketing department. A little small at the moment, but that's not getting in the way. I'm pretty sure you've seen most things that I put out with the team. But yeah, I push buttons on Twitter and make sure everybody gets the message heard and put a little strategy into that.
Yeah, with a team that big, you guys better be getting work done. God damn.
I'm the professional whip cracker, so we're honestly, by corporate standards, I think our team is really productive and getting more productive every week as we keep kind of refining our process to organizing people all over the world, which is hard, but
That becomes the hardest part, right? Managing an international team is it's pretty wild.
yeah.
We're up around.
Self-sufficiency, it comes in really big for us, I think.
Yeah.
Just everybody kind of knowing their goal, knowing their individual mission, and having the skills and the motivation to get it done.
So you're saying like you guys are kind of more decentralized in your work structure, where it's kind of come as you are when you can type of a thing.
In a sense, it just we have so many people that are. I mean, there's a lot of Aussies. There's some. Where else do we have people like that? Literally, we fall asleep in the U.S. and then they wake up and start doing the work that
Yeah.
hasn't been finished.
Right.
Australia, US, Central Europe are our really big ones, and then a little bit Canada. But yeah, it's basically like you have your mission, and the heads of each department, their job is just making sure that mission gets accomplished. So it helps a lot with asynchronous communication, kind of the holocratic decentralized structure, and flattening hierarchies and power bases kind of when you are hiring strictly for intelligence and like motivation, it makes it a lot easier to manage, and we keep getting
Right.
better at it. So we hope to, write the handbook on managing organizations like this, because it is not easy, as I'm sure anyone who's worked in the space knows.
Not easy at all. But I mean, if everybody is dedicated to the mission, you know, it seems to make a we make a way to make it happen, you know, and that's what's important, I think. So very cool.
Totally.
Very cool. All right, so Reaper Farm is the shit. Everybody loves it. What are you guys doing on OP? I know you guys are launching on OP. What are the plans for the Layer 2 season? I have a feeling you guys are going to Arbitrum too.
World domination.
Yeah. Right now our plan on OP is to just be best friends with Velodrome and Beethoven and make the best like yield bearing software possible. So, you know, the thing about yield aggregators is they're all eager to just jump on every high yield opportunity, but rarely are they willing to put in the time and effort to produce something that's going to be generating revenue for like years. So kind of the Reaper team identifies opportunities, kind of long tail opportunities. So it's basically like, okay, the checklist. Is this team going to be around in a few years? We meet with them, we talk to them. If everything makes sense and they look good, it's like, okay, how can we make something that will always be relevant? So with Velodrome, for example, a big challenge is emissions are always rotating, you know. So it's kind of a big effort to constantly capture anything but the core pools. But the VE NFTs and the voting and the bribing and all of that are eternal in a way. So by putting in the extra engineering effort and kind of using our brain power, we can have something that'll be relevant for as long as Velodrome exists, which we think will be a long time. So an example of this on Phantom is our Beethoven F Beats crypt, which is I think the most profitable. Now, any of you can correct me if I'm wrong, but right now, the most profitable like investment product on the network. And as of this week, doubled their token amounts, and this was in less than like, you know, 4, 5, 6 months, and it's still going strong in the bear market. So products like that, products like our XBOO crypt, like those are the things that we're pouring all of our research and brain power into, so that we can be a company that persists forever. And instead of chasing technical debt and chasing yield and being really aggressive and maybe reckless, we try to chase the long time horizon, problems and find solutions for them.
Yeah, when you guys dropped that and you started capturing what was it, the bribes, or was it
Yeah, the bribe on FBeats, the bribe gauge voting, as well as the emissions themselves from FBeats. So kind of extracting every ounce of value in a way that something that would take a user normally maybe an hour a week or more if they're really picky about their returns. All we do is we broker deals for them, optimize returns, and make it so they don't even have to think about it. And then they participate in governance, they participate in emissions, and they're getting absolute maximum return for their assets. And we seek to do the same thing for Velodrome with their kind of fee generation system, and we're always chasing opportunities like that. And that's like really important to us and really important to our long-term strategy.
Have you seen Hermes at all?
I'm not allowed to talk about that, I think.
Oh
But
no.
yes, I have seen Hermes. Yes. And it's not
Well,
called Hermes anymore. It's actually called Polygon ZK EVM. They changed the name very recently. But
wait,
yes.
which project is it? You were talking about Hermes on Meta's chain that's going omni-chain?
I'm talking about Hermes, HERMEZ, Polygon's Layer 2 ZK EVM solution.
Okay, different things.
So Hermes is Meta's. So is that the thing that just raised a ton of money after breaking off from Meta?
No, so they started out with basically an Ohm fork with Maya. It's called Maya, and with the treasury, they ended up launching a solidly fork with custom code fixing. It's similar to Velodrome actually, but before Velodrome.
Yeah.
And they've been building all through the bear. Tokens just went crazy. And our DeFi project that is on Metis, which is going to be going cross chain, is heavy into Hermes. We have a very large locked position.
Ah, I
Our
remember that now.
treasury is doing very well over there now, and they're going to be going cross chain as well to Arbitrum and applying this Uni V3 strategy that they've developed for their V2. I was just
Yeah.
wondering if you've heard about it. I will send you the Medium article. I think you'd find it really interesting. But you
Yeah.
guys probably definitely integrate something from there as well. And we have a close partnership, so we can help facilitate that.
Cool. Yeah. I've definitely heard about it, and we're like dipping our toes in Metis right now, or Metis or whatever it's called. Um, but yeah, interesting. I'd love to get some documentation or hook up there. Um, But yeah, it's like Velodrome has a very unique system in that they focus all their rewards on bribers and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think probably this system, and Bongo in the audience can probably speak to this better than I can, but it'll probably apply to any solidly fork, and I imagine we'll be seeing quite a few of them.
Right, and well, I think what's important is that you guys have a team that is so qualified. You guys can, whatever the difference is between the protocols, right? You're able to optimize depending
Yeah.
on what they're doing, and that's just amazing. So,
Yeah, yeah. As long as it's worth the effort, we're definitely there to work on it. And yeah, luckily, like a lot of our competitors, time horizons are like 1 month for integrations, and ours is 1 year or longer. So um, we're able to kind of sneak into the market really well there, and kind of leverage our talent to get comfy.
good stuff. Really good stuff. I think that you guys are definitely, you guys have the right direction, you know what I mean? And that's important because so many people are currently trapped in the one chain mindset or whatever it is, and there's just currently the way it is there's no way to survive that way, you know, especially if this is your life, if this is your full-time job. One, if you live on one chain, you're probably going to die on one chain.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people get that narrative a little bit like upside down, and it scares them. I don't think it should scare anybody because realistically, the future is multi-chain, and it's one of those things that people should embrace rather than be scared of.
Right. And this is kind of what I wanted to segue into, was this conversation about I mean, not even just Phantom. There's so many blockchains that are like this that have very strong communities of users who are really just hurting themselves by not expanding cross chain and seeing the value in liquidity that is, exchanged between chains more freely. Like, that is, to me, what the real future is. We're going to see value in each chain. It's going to be utilized for what it's good at. Like right now, if you ask me, Phantom has some of the most mature DeFi on any chain, at least that's affordable, right? I
Yeah.
love the DeFi on Phantom.
Definitely. And like, kind of in the same way we approach like our balance sheet, like in terms of assets, we think of our business strategy and our exposure to all of these different ecosystems, all of these different product verticals and market spaces. Um, we want to make sure, like, in such a volatile ecosystem and in such a volatile market, that we have exposure to multiple chains, we have exposure to multiple verticals, we have exposure to different market categories, we have exposure to different like compliance landscapes. So, part of being kind of an anti-fragile business and a business that's going to be around for years and years is ensuring that there's no single point of failure. It's like the Saudi Aramco, like realizing that, oil reserves might dry up, or the demand for oil might go down, and having to scramble to kind of reinvent themselves. And that's like a monolith, and if they had thought about that from day one, they wouldn't be having, existential problems, and they wouldn't
Yeah.
have to resort. Well, I'm not going to say anything political, but yeah.
It's not needed. I
Yeah.
understand your point 100%,
Yeah.
There's really very few people who have the mindset to really create something sustainable, in that regard.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to know for most people coming into the crypto space. Like, yeah, you can make a lot of money on a shitcoin or low liquidity token or whatever, but it's probably not going to be lasting long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I think we can look back to last few I guess catastrophic black swan events, and I think moving forward, more DeFi users are going to be looking for those sustainable quote unquote yields that'll last them a good amount of time, rather than like get in there and get like 1 million kajillion APR and
Right.
then lose all their money the next day. So I feel like there's a new narrative also brewing as far as sustainability for the next even bull run, probably.
Yep, I fully agree. My new thing is revenue backed emissions. Point blank.
Yeah. I mean, it's like literally you can, and we're like right now a lot of our research is trying to write a differential equation to define like formalizing a lot of these ideas like revenue backed emissions. Really all you need is, if you are increasing supply by X amount, you need to ensure that you're increasing demand by X amount. And demand can be manufactured. So if you're just doing buybacks, like that's pretty common. You can just create demand by doing buybacks. And then there's things like speculative demand. There's like peripheral demand for like tokens related to your token. And then like, if you have, for every dollar you emit, you can have 80 cents of buyback. You can, for people like anticipating that these buybacks will grow over time, cover that other 20% with speculative growth. And just like designing and creating these token economies is like it's literally like the most basic economics. Like if
Right.
you were to like blow up a token economy to the size of the US economy or whatever, you'd be thinking about it in much the same way that you'd be thinking about macroeconomics. So it's just about boiling that down, figuring out what the drivers are, and figuring out how to match your supply and demand curves optimally, which is really just about, fitting your strategy to a mathematical ideal. Um,
And with the way DeFi has developed to this at this stage, there's so many possibilities, and through fee generation, and
yeah.
various other mechanisms, you can do a lot.
Yeah.
Especially if you know how to handle a treasury. Like
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I really, now that we're talking about this, I really want to show you the new ecosystem design for our Metis project, because we're it's revenue backed emissions. We have like a large stake of the Hermes emissions. We're about to submit a proposal to get increased emissions from their treasury. So like, um, there's a lot of potential there for us, and if we can pull it all off, I think it's a really exciting thing. So that's something I would love to bounce off. I'll show you later, whatever, maybe when you have a moment.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, totally.
yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, like you think about it this way as well. If you're talking about revenue-backed emissions, for example, let's say that, you know, for your token, you are targeting like a 10% APR, um, and users will accept a 10% APR to bond that token. So with a buyback, with $1, you can take $1 of your token off the market and create $1 of demand. And then with bonding, you can take that same dollar, you can give people 10% APR to lock their tokens for a year, not necessarily lock them, but we're talking a little bit in ideals here. And you can take 10 times the tokens off the market, but only for a year. So when you're designing monetary policy, it's like the lower APR that your users will be satisfied with, and doing that is about offsetting risk, making your token investable, making your token secure. So lowering APR as low as you can basically take the amount that you would to buy back and just divide it by that percent. So if you can get people to accept like a 5% APR, then you're dividing the tokens you take off the market with a buyback by 0.05. So you'd be essentially getting 20x capital efficiency over that
Yeah.
year, and that gives you a lot of runway.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's like weighing your different opportunities.
Yeah. This is exactly kind of the conversations we've been having right now, because our treasury value is like 3 or 4 times the value of our market cap right now.
Yeah.
So currently we're in a really strong position to be able to farm and produce emissions and then cover those emissions fully, right?
Yeah.
And offer chunky APRs and then take the leftover APRs and put it back into the strategies. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I think
this
Liquid
is
Driver does a really good job of socializing this concept, and looking to them as like kind of a blueprint, and studying their history, I think would be very, very wise for anyone interested in managing a token price or managing a supply and demand curve with farming of external assets. And a lot of DAOs have done this, but Liquid Driver is nice because it's a purely programmatic approach. So it's something that you can study pretty easily.
Yeah, 100%. They have been on the table and part of pretty much everything that we've put together. That we always look there as they're just one of they're the way that they distribute multiple rewards sustainably, right, to users for locking a native token is just like awesome. And it does so many things for sustainability, does so many things for the ecosystem as well, right? And that's another thing is facilitating strong projects on chain, or you know what I mean, synergizing with strong projects on chain to create flywheel effects and more sustainable yield loops, things like that.
Yeah,
That stuff's really exciting to me as well.
definitely. That's the fun part of DeFi.
Hey, I had a question about BizDev actually when it comes to you guys. So Azrium, when you guys are going to a new chain, a new blockchain, we're completely changing topics here, but when you guys are going to a new blockchain, what is kind of the first partnership that you're looking for? Who's the first person you want to talk to try to get integrated with the chain, if not the foundation, which is pretty obvious, I think.
Yeah, typically we reach out to the foundation first and get the conversations going, and then honestly, we kind of do an evaluation on who's building on chain, who's got some really good tech, and then we go meet with them, right? So Optimism, for example, that would be Velodrome, Beethoven X, Taro, etc. And we just get in chats with them and say, hey, we want to build together, we want to partner together, and kind of see where we can integrate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think that's what's expected. I would expect you to know exactly what to do. I just feel like it's cool to share sometimes biz dev strategy with the public and kind of let them know, what the team's thinking of when they're
Yeah.
when they're executing.
Yeah, kind of like if you're going to get people to migrate to a new chain, you need to create gravity. So to do that, you need mass, and to do that, you need a lot of partnerships and collaboration. So,
Yep.
when you go on Reaper, not only is it Reaper, but it's Velodrome, it's Beethoven, and we'll just continue adding and adding and adding to our product offering to the point where, okay, now we have 10, 20, 30 million TVL. Now we can just get more abstract and make it easier and easier and easier for users to engage. And then suddenly users don't need to go anywhere but Reaper when it comes to liquidity provision.
Right.
And it takes like close collaboration to make that happen, because kind of like an issue we had with Geist, for example, on Phantom is we made like really, really advanced Geist strategies.
I bet that
We
was a
levered
pain
up.
in the ass.
What?
It was.
I said I bet it was a pain in the ass knowing how this
They
shit
wouldn't. We
worked.
couldn't get even a text conversation with anyone. Um, and like, so we had like really good APRs. We had like really quality products. We had a single staking Geist crypt. We made a whole suite of stuff for them. We could not even like. We built this first. We were like, okay, they won't talk to us. Let's build it and then talk to them. Like literally, not even a single Discord message we could make happen, which and so we got no adoption. So we kind of like we've refined our processes over the years where it's like, okay, before, like if you think of development cost as a liability, you're like, okay, we're going to estimate the liability of building this. What do we need from that team in terms of engagement and support to offset this liability?
Was that kind of what made you guys tighten up and make it more strenuous, or make the teams be more responsive and work more closely with you?
Yeah. I mean, like, there was a while, especially like when we were first starting out, where like I would literally spend, 5 hours a week just helping other people for free. Um, and, I still do a little bit of that, but it got to a point where helping people became like a liability. Like, now suddenly we're associated with every single project, even though we haven't gotten any money. So all of their failures become, to a certain extent, our failures. And kind of like a big part of this, and this is like why, if you recall that whole narrative, I was like really pissy about the phantom incentives. Like, our team has a decent amount of business experience. Our team was pretty far ahead in terms of compliance, in terms of organization, in terms of engineering, in terms of security. So we were helping a lot of people get on their feet, so to speak. Like, I'm not going to name names, but we had regular meetings with them to help them get compliant and help them work on their business strategy, help them grow their team, help them hire. And the result of a lot of that was like, once they lost funding from the foundation, they couldn't exist as businesses anymore because this was all grassroots effort. And, you know, it's like all of those projects failed, and now without receiving any money, trying to be altruistic, we're associated with some of that. So kind of after a lot of that, free code reviews, free this, free that, advising people that didn't necessarily listen to us on security, we were just like, okay, you know, we're big enough now that unless it's someone that is kind of working at our same level, so someone who maybe has a compliance officer, someone who's focused on legal things, someone who's focused on growth, um, unless someone is meeting us at the table in terms of value, we try to ensure that like either the relationship is like contracted up or whatever. So kind of becoming
Right.
more corporate and defensive, which I personally am not a huge fan of, but it's like absolutely necessary to run a business. And
Well, to protect your IP and protect your, I mean, strategy and advisement in this space from the right people is invaluable, and I think it's overlooked a lot, and that's something that we learned here is there's a lot of value extractors in the space. So I think there's a lot of similarities between our experiences here. We don't quite have a full legal team, and we haven't fully developed everything on that side yet, but we are going in that direction. I have guys who are looking into legitimizing the DAO in a country in Europe, and we're looking into doing everything correctly. I have legal counsel set up and things like that. So yeah, I think it's important. That like what you're talking about with the Phantom grants. That stuff. So many projects that were just not really truly sustainable got grants because of short-term liquidity growth, right?
Yeah.
And like that was what were they thinking? This is
And the
just
thing
like
is, like, we had 1 year, a 1 year outlook with these grants, and it was cut off after 6 months. 6 more months, we would have been able to make a lot of these teams sustainable we were working with. That's the frustrating thing. So it's like doing all this work, trying to, I mean, honestly, these people became our friends and colleagues, trying to get them compliant, trying to get them in a position where they could reliably raise funds and legally raise funds, get them a position where they could grow. Um, it takes time to do that unless you have like a lot of experience and a lot of connections. And we were sold a grassroots narrative, and we were sold this like funding model, and it was kind of pulled out from under us. And we were in a position to be fine, even though it was like a couple months of crunch time pushing legal stuff along.
mhm.
But yeah, it just like put a lot of people in a very awkward situation where it was like, we're going to launch without VC funding because this is like the chain to do that on. And then suddenly that became impossible to do. So we
Yeah,
had like
right.
a lot of
Yeah.
like research efforts like totally had to stop in their tracks from some teams. Um, products had to be sunset, and shutters had to be closed.
So how did that work? They received initial grant payment, and then was it like a monthly distribution or something that just got cut?
Yeah, it was a monthly distribution that was removed, and really, it's not that expensive to sustain like a business of 5 people that are focused on research. Um, but in coming to your revenue backed emissions thing earlier, like people are emitting millions and millions of dollars of their cap table for free
Hmm.
on these chains, and another thing we kind of ask for from DAOs and things like that is like incentive matching. Like, hey, if we're going to get on your chain and you're a foundation and we're going to start, putting in hundreds of man hours and emitting millions of dollars of tokens, you need to kind of back us up. And it's just a positive value exchange as opposed to value extraction from, like, everybody is trying to extract value, and the goal is to kind of, same as designing consensus. It's like you have these three big problems: security, scalability, and whatever the hell the other one is. Um, and you're trying to reconcile them, and finding a perfect middle ground is insanely difficult. And it kind of like teams were yanked from one side to the other. But I digress. It's the past, and the bear market is going to wash out a lot of people. And the upside is there are a lot of devs for hire across every chain. So it's kind of allowing other ecosystems to grow. You saw like a lot of Terra Luna developers move to Near, and it's just giving people new opportunity on the flip side of the negativity.
No, I fully agree. There's a lot of interesting stuff happening. I mean, how do you feel about like the OP token model as far as their emissions and the release schedule, all that stuff?
I
Do
think
you,
it's fun and interesting. I think honestly, we'll probably need more data to actually figure out if it's good or not. I think it's pretty sensible. I really like the proposal, like the governance proposal method. It does kind of make it an insiders club or a friends of friends club, but everything is that anyway, like it's impossible to escape. So I like seeing it. It's some interesting data, and I think it'll probably be pretty successful. My main, the main issue with optimism is ZK EVM projects are coming out, which provide more scalability and more security. So like
this
as
is
far
why you're
as
excited about that project that was formerly called Hermes.
yeah, Polygon ZK EVM is like pretty dope. I really want to be an early adopter on there, but
I
yeah,
can tell.
it's
I'm gonna have to read more. I've only like glanced.
yeah, it is.
So.
It is like people into cryptography have been waiting for zk EVM for a long ass time. So yeah, we'll
That's where
see.
I
They're
read
like
about. I read this in the Monero forum, just for the record, like a while ago. That's where I heard about the
nice. Yeah,
ZK
yeah.
EVM.
It's it is a really really exciting narrative as far as L2s go, and really all we've had so far is Starknet, which is in like a closed beta or a gate kept beta, and they use a transpiler instead of really truly integrating the EVM. So it's Solidity to Cairo to assembly to execution, whereas with the ZK EVM you are programming to a VM. I mean, it's like it's almost like transpiling on a different level, but essentially another virtual machine handles execution and then converts it to like an EVM friendly assembly. So like the potential for scaling without sacrificing security and kind of being able to depend on um, Ethereum is super duper dope. And the projects doing it are ZK Sync, Scroll, and Polygon ZK EVM, and all of them have slightly different approaches. So definitely, I would look into that if you're interested.
Yeah, I got some recommendations for their branding team.
Yeah, yeah, it is. That's
But
we'll figure it out one
it's
day.
always like
Optimism has a
that.
good ass brand, is what I say all the time. Like very, very, very bold and catchy. A little pretentious right now, but that will go away as VCs start dumping.
Right.
So yeah,
That
very
I
cool.
think my concern with optimism is the same with a lot of other chains, and it's the insiders club, whale token dominance issue. And that's something that I'm seeing a lot of on certain chains. Other chains it's not as bad, but it is something that is very commonplace, and I think that really needs to be addressed on a lot of different chains, not just Phantom. Not it's the same issue on definitely on OP. From what I've seen, and I believe Solana has a big issue with so much
Yeah,
VC money,
it's
stuff
all
like that, and
centralized. It's Phantom did a good
yeah,
job. It's like you know, Phantom has a lot of issues, but I think like community is not one of them. Um, like probably if the community wanted to bootstrap like a new Phantom Foundation, it would probably be one of the best blockchain foundations in the world. And slowly, the foundation itself is evolving and taking feedback. And like I'm really optimistic for the future of Phantom if they kind of continue listening and continue growing. Um, and it is kind of exciting on here. And yeah, it's like every chain is different. Our BD strategy, which is kind of annoying, but we need to like, go on Crunchbase, go on Masari, do a bunch of DD, figure out what our approach is going to be, and then kind of engage with the foundations,
yeah,
and engage with like the top investors and kind of balance sheets and projects. So it makes it difficult, but it makes it kind of exciting and refreshing.
for sure. It's the same with anything, right? You want to learn the ecosystem, figure out how you can best facilitate and synergize with the ecosystem. I mean, and the best way to succeed on any chain is to make as many people happy as you can, right? And build relationships and facilitate the success of your own project through that. So, I mean, that's
Totally.
very important, and you guys get it. It's very clear you guys get it, and you guys are going to continue to build cool shit. I think Reaper Farm is an exciting fucking product, dude. And if you can continuously do this on every chain, obviously I know the hardest part is the biz dev, lining up the conversations, lining up the synergies, doing the research, all that stuff takes time, right? And very excited to see, what's next. You guys got any alpha on the next chain?
Bruh, if you're pumped about Reaper Farm, like the shit we have in our pipeline, Reaper Farm was built by 3 dudes in their underwear over the course of like 3 to 4 weeks.
Let me get to the next alpha. Hold up, real quick. Just entertain me on Reaper real quick, if you could. What's the next moves on Reaper, and what chains do you see in this? In the
Yeah, I
future?
mean, right now, like the multi-chain narrative is almost like a sub-narrative to us. Like we're not thinking for the right now. We participate in multi-chain because one, it's not that hard, and two, we can like target really good long-term opportunities more like democratically. So now that we have our cross-chain infrastructure, it's just a matter of starting conversations, identifying opportunities, etc., which is like, you know, which we can do kind of in our sleep. It's just part of the DD process, and part of having an entire team that's like all about DeFi. You know, our entire team, we're all users. So we have a constant information stream. Like, where's the narrative heading? XYZ. Like the real alpha with Reaper is, you know, eventually, i.e., relatively soon, i.e., before anyone else in the market, at least at our like size and level of adoption and yield exposure, creating like making farming yield so abstract that users don't care that it's multi-chain. Like, who cares what chain we're on? You know, like interoperability layers are getting better and better. You know, cross-chain messaging is getting better and better. And if we can get to a point where users don't need to care what LPs are, users don't need to care what DeFi is really, except in the context of Reaper. Users don't need to care about blockchains, whatever. It's just a matter of opening an app, clicking I like this APR. These assets seem cool. Let me click the deposit button, and then just, you know, instantly being in that position without having to go to a bunch of different apps.
Yeah.
That's the real like goal with Reaper, and everything is just facilitating that end product.
Wow. Fucking wow, dude. That's crazy. That's literally the shit we talk about, dude. Like, over here, brainstorming product design and stuff. Love this shit, dude. We're talking literally about a product called like One Click Yield that we just develop backend strategies for various protocols on various chains and reflect yield back to the user. You know, whether it's NFT exposure or token deposit, whatever. But past that, something even more kind of you went this direction, but cross chain liquidity. There's a new protocol that I'm advising for called Entangle, and they're essentially building a layer one blockchain that is built around shifting liquidity cross chain and essentially what you're talking about, an interoperability layer, utilizing
Yeah.
synthetic derivatives. Really exciting stuff.
There's a lot of projects kind of working on that. I don't think anyone's gotten it right yet. There are, slippage issues, volume issues, liquidity issues, XYZ, you name it.
That's always the issue, is liquidity.
Synthetic assets, though, that's a really good approach, in my opinion, because as long as you have enough capital, you can transport, you know, liquidity anywhere you want, or liquidity can be purely notional. It can just be the idea of liquidity, balanced elsewhere on some chain or some centralized, um, you know, blockchain or layer. So that's a really cool idea.
It's a
Like the technology isn't there yet is the tough thing. So
they utilize a Tendermint consensus layer, and essentially it's like a network of dexes that are in LP pools that liquidity is shifted around depending upon which chain the assets are minted on.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's really cool stuff. I'd like to show you. They have multiple mathematic PhDs. They have a huge team of senior blockchain devs working together with these guys, and it's some cool shit happening. I'm blown. I'm like
Yeah,
humbled
dope.
to be on this
That's
team,
really
to say the
exciting.
least.
Yeah, that's kind of what we need. There's like O3 network right now. There's like Cubic or whatever the hell. Multi-chain, of course. Attempted to do like the cross-chain DEX thing, but liquidity problems kind of stopped them in their tracks. And now they're
Yeah.
sticking to like messaging.
Well, all those problems, I'm telling you, these guys have everything that those projects did not have when it comes to backing and the biz dev and the relationships.
Awesome.
Everything is there, so it's really exciting stuff. I mean, I've been in this space a long time, and I've heard a lot of people talk a lot of shit, man. And trust me,
Yeah.
I'm sure that everybody knows that there's a lot of snake oil in the space, and even when it comes to these groundbreaking new projects and these new ideas, there's a
Yeah.
lot of people who have the idea, but they don't have the
Yeah.
ability to
Yeah.
make it,
Idea
make it real.
guys. Idea guys are like the bane of my existence. It's like, my mom has freaking good ideas for software, My girlfriend has good ideas. Everybody has all these good ideas. But until you can actually have a game plan, have a team, have everything you need to actually execute them, and know, the technical weight of embarking on a project or embarking on the execution of an idea, then it's like useless. You may as well be like, farting.
Yeah.
So like
Straight up, man.
definitely if you're a guy that likes ideas, I definitely recommend you take that idea and use it as an educational roadmap for figuring out how to actually make it possible.
Yeah.
That's like the most productive thing an idea guy
It's so
could do.
tough. It's
Yeah.
so tough, man. I mean, we've been building since November, building team, trying to get all the pieces right to try to bring the vision of a sustainable ecosystem out, and we're still getting it right. I'm still team building. I'm trying to find the last pieces. I would love to maybe talk to you guys and hire you guys to finish out some things, like honestly. There's some high level stuff that we're trying to accomplish, and I think it might be really cool if we could. I don't know if that's a
Yeah.
possibility, but
Definitely throw an RFP our way. I will warn you, we're very expensive. But if you have sufficient motivation, our job is to build really badass software. So definitely, like you or honestly anyone listening, feel free to chuck us an RFP and Andrew will take a look at it. That's kind of, we love at least advising or helping push ideas to production. And the cost of ideas are free. Implementing the ideas usually costs, mid six figures, depending on what the idea is. So that kind of shows you the power of learning how to actually implement solutions.
100%. Well, I'm gonna go through a couple community questions now. We've had our fun chit chatting for a bit.
All right, from Zippity Doodah, what did you learn after the recent exploit? Did you have mechanism that helped save funds, or were the multi-strat crypts completely drained? So as far as learning goes, I would recommend you read our technical breakdown of the incident and our recovery effort. But kind of high level, overconfidence killed us on this one, and insufficient allocation of engineering resources, number two. And they kind of went hand in hand. Kind of underestimate the problem, one, and two, via that incorrect assessment of risk, under allocation of security resources. So it was like we had a fully audited set of multi-strategies. Everything was really beautiful. And then we decided to make what we assessed was a fairly small change. And so we didn't do another full audit. And that kind of lost our users some money, which we are working on raising funds to pay back at the moment. Really, really sucks. And yeah, luckily, myself and our other co-founder Goober are, really experienced as far as ETHSEC goes. So we were able to respond and white hat all of the funds out of our Optimism smart contracts and reimburse those users a day or two later. So really unfortunate incident, but it will help harden our processes. And we've restructured our engineering crews to prevent a similar thing from ever happening again. So honestly, we feel a little bit lucky that it wasn't like a massive liability, but nonetheless, it was difficult, and we're glad that it won't really impede our roadmap, because that's the most important thing to us, is being able to execute our mission here. Are you considering changes you could make to mitigate losses in the event something like this happens in the future? We actually already work with insurance firms, and probably now that we we fixed bugs and updated our strategies and are, actually confident in their security now and re-audited them. But part of being exploited is working with an external firm, which is annoying and takes a long time. So we now have a month to kind of do some legwork on the biz dev side leading into the multi-strategy. So we'll probably come out the gate with some insurance partners. And stuff like that, monitoring solutions. We are working with an external firm, but I can't really get into details because it's like highly sensitive. But yeah, we're doing the needful, and apologies to anyone in the audience affected. We're like busting ass to get you that money back.
Just to be very clear, everybody in the audience, this level of resolution is so fucking rare in this space. Like, please understand how, like, this is some high value shit. Like, you don't get this from most teams at all.
Yeah, I mean, kind of our perspective is, I mean, we have like a pretty sizable security team. We have really solid processes. And of course, we had to improve them after this, and it showed kind of a glaring issue. But I think our recovery and our response kind of showed how obvious it was, how safety or how important safety is to us. Because safety isn't just about prevention, it's also about recovery. And we want to make sure that like our users don't lose their exposure. So that would mean like responding quickly and getting them paid back quickly, and don't lose out on any funds. So
Right.
you know, we want to make sure they have their leverage and they have their liquidity so they can keep earning and keep doing their thing. So that's like of primary importance. And like I said, our time horizons are in the decades. So a hiccup like this, like making sure that we can make all of our users happy and keep our reputation as pristine as possible, is well worth the investment. And I've
Yeah.
personally been a victim of exploits where they didn't pay anything back. They had kind of a lackadaisical response. They had an unprofessional response, and all that does is piss me off. So we're all about accountability and responsibility.
Love it.
Thanks for getting that out of the way, Zippity Doodah.
Yeah, love to hear it. Yeah, no, that's all right. I mean, I always tell people it's like shit can go wrong. It can go all the way wrong as long as somebody's willing to try to make it right. You know what I mean? And that's what it boils down to in this space, I think. I mean, a lot of times people aren't able to do anything, but whatever you can do is more than most people do. You're right.
Yeah. We try to bust ass in the accountability department, and like your opinions of us mean so much. And for all the trolling I get, and for all the people saying like insanely cruel, strange things, it's still like the users that I do this for, and your support throughout this incident has been absolutely massive. So I thank each and every one of you, and I will move on to the next question now that we've tied that one off.
Yeah.
How have the recent actions of USDC influenced your approach to your own stablecoin development and how you choose to back it? And what are the future plans for Oath? Will you offer revenue sharing in the U.S. regulatory environment? Is the U.S. regulatory environment forcing you to adjust those plans at all? So the USD thing is cool and funny because we anticipated this many months ago when we began development of our stablecoin. And the entire purpose of it is to not touch any asset that can be potentially frozen or affected by a centralized party. So the main issue is like MIM. If USDT decided to blacklist MIM smart contracts, then suddenly MIM depegs and goes to zero. If Circle decides to blacklist DAI contracts or MakerDAO contracts, DAI goes to zero. So our goal is to, in kind of the same vein as the Liquidity protocol, if you're familiar, we're like huge fans of that protocol. We are taking a lot of pages from their book and then adding a ton of really awesome features. So kind of how I frame this is without exposure to any extreme downside risk, without exposure to under collateralization, and without exposure to centralization, you are able to achieve greater than 100% capital efficiency. How we're doing that, I'm not going to say for now, but on release, it should be pretty obvious, and we'll have a bunch of documentation and stuff like that to go along with it.
All I gotta say is, I hope it's really, really well put together, because I keep telling people, stop fucking making stable coins.
Yeah,
But
it's I mean,
it's
like,
usually people who don't know their shit. You know what I mean? Like, why are you trying to do
yeah.
this? You're not gonna get yourself into a good situation.
I
But
mean,
I fully understand that you guys have the development knowledge and experience to put something together that can work.
yeah,
And I
as
think
far
that's
as
therein lies the difference.
tech will be ahead of the pack, and as far as compliance goes, we're in a really good spot to gain market share. Um, and
That's the big
like
thing.
the product is going to be unique enough that really like the stablecoin market has a ton of participants, but it's also by an order of magnitude the largest market in crypto.
Of course.
So entering it at this point, especially with our long time horizons, we see as kind of a no-brainer, especially because it's really bear market friendly. So it'll be relevant bull or bear, and we identified once the market started turning around that one, compliance was going to get really tough. Now that all the Congress people who invested in Bitcoin or whatever are in the red, they're going to be pissy and try to start stomping on DeFi and stuff, especially after the Terra thing. And a fully, like, we will have at launch the best product on the market, and it'll probably be the best product on the market for a number of years following. So yeah, we're pouring a lot of energy and effort into it.
So you brought up the stablecoin, not me. So now that we're here, we probably all know the biggest challenge or hurdle you guys are gonna have is utilization
Yeah.
and adoption.
Yeah.
And how do you guys really plan on tackling that and making sure that you have utility on multiple chains, that you can actually leverage this thing into being something that is used by people, you know?
Yeah, I mean, kind of, if you look at like monetary velocity or quote unquote velocity of money, you can take kind of the broad monetary supply and divide it by the GDP. So that tells you like how much per dollar is this dollar being used or whatever. I mean, trying to mimic those and frame our growth strategy with that as kind of a driving data point. Really, like the product itself is going to have built-in use cases for both Oath and the stablecoin itself. And then beyond that, we have a lot of products, and really the toughest thing for us is going to be getting a Chainlink Oracle. So kind of our ultimate mission there.
Why is that so hard?
Their requirements are insanely high. It's extremely difficult
For a
to
custom
get a Chainlink
Oracle or
any Oracle from Chainlink.
really?
Yeah,
Are you
you need.
talking to get them onto your a new chain?
So getting them to support our stablecoin with its own Oracle is the tough thing.
They
So
seem so.
integrating Chainlink is easy, but getting them to support your asset is very, very hard.
That's really strange. They seem so willing, their outreach team, to set up these talks and get that shit done. What's the problem there?
So their requirements, you need
They're
two.
asking me about tokens that I don't even have anymore, like trying to set up meetings. They're like, we stopped trading on Bloom, and they're like still DMing me like, can we talk about
Yeah, I
price
mean,
war?
it's probably their BD team is really aggressive,
Yeah.
but once you get into the nitty gritty, you need $2 million of daily volume. You need to be on 5 supported exchanges, and you need to meet a slew of other requirements as far as like age, maturity. You need to maintain that $2 million of daily volume for over a month. So that's like those are hard metrics to meet.
Yep.
And yeah, so definitely once you get to the nitty gritty in your conversations with them, you'll realize a lot of that. But I digress.
That's obtainable. It's obtainable for a stablecoin, though. It's just like we talked about those use case, utility, who's integrating it, and
Yeah,
that's kind of where I was wanted you to go. Is do you have anything in mind? Do you have any? I mean, obviously, phantom exposure wouldn't be too hard, through your
yeah.
guys'
I mean,
relationships you already have. But
we
past
have
that,
6 products, and we're on like 7 blockchains right now. With Granary. We have strong relationships with secondary oracles like API 3 and things like that, where we could get support so we can like maybe hop on Granary or a secondary market somewhere. Um, so I mean, the game plan is pretty set. We have like with Reaper alone, we can have 3 strategies that utilize the stablecoin just with the protocol itself. And we can create a lot of delta neutral strategies and things like that with partners or by ourselves. And really at that point, it's about getting capital involved. So kind of we're marketing this toward whales for the most part.
yeah,
But we're marketing the stable coin toward everybody. But the protocol, as far as minting and things like that, like working with private equity and leveraging our legal entities and kind of really good position in the regulatory landscape to get parties involved that are generally hard to get involved for smaller companies. So, yeah, I mean,
yeah.
we have a pretty robust go-to-market strategy and growth
You
timeline.
you got an uphill battle, sir,
Yeah, I
with the
mean,
stable coin.
we have an uphill battle. I don't think it's as uphill as you think.
I truly don't. I don't know the full landscape, but um, I was just gonna say all I do know is that with the new regulations, they're not making it easier. And if you are playing by the rules, I don't know. I don't know what those hoops are like. If they're lit on fire, you know what I mean. The ones
Yeah,
you
the
gotta
hoops
jump
are
through.
jumped through. The hoops have already been jumped through. That's why this is like a really good move for us.
Are you talking
Um,
about by like die or something?
the hoops have been jumped through by us.
You've already seen the. I thought the legislation hasn't passed yet.
So okay, so we have a nonprofit foundation that can house DeFi software, one, as well as the Oath token. Beyond that, as far as like what U.S. regulation is, that will be a matter of changing the name from stablecoin to algorithmically pegged coin or similar, even if we might be over collateralized or perfectly stable. So
Got
these
it.
regulations
I
aren't
had a
difficult
feeling.
to circumvent.
Okay, yeah, I had a feeling that there was something like that was going to be done. I wasn't
And these
sure.
are these are like in talks. Like these are possibly years away. Like a sanction on a particular entity, like Tornado Cash, for example, um, that is not necessarily like legislation. That is preparing for an investigation. So
How do you
that's like
feel
getting
about
raided
that?
by the FBI. I think it's a net negative for the space, and I would honestly be surprised if it resulted in any serious legislation. But right
Yeah.
now, a ton of money does get laundered through there, um, and it is like probably pissing the IRS and the SEC and all that off quite a bit.
Yeah, it's understandable, but I mean, it's the same with anything, right? There's
Yeah,
how many other ways are there for people to launder money? When does privacy
a
matter?
million.
When does
Yeah.
privacy, like, when do we stop caring about privacy? You
This
know
is
what I'm
just a show
saying?
of force, you know.
Of course.
It's like India banning crypto for the 20th time. You know, it's literally superfluous, and you know, as a result, there are going to be 3, 4, 5 more tornado caches popping up.
Yeah.
Their code is open source. Their systems are well documented. You know, they're on IPFS anyway, so you can still use it. It's just, you know, any show of force will be met with like a huge network of resistance, especially in
Yep.
this space. So
This is why I fucking love the blockchain.
yeah, I'm not worried about it long term. In the short term, it's really annoying, but it gives us a chance to see Circle's true colors, and you know, it opens up a lot of conversations and doors and things that probably wouldn't have been
Yeah.
opened up otherwise.
It
So just
furthers
a
the
historical event. We've witnessed a
right.
piece of
Yeah.
history happen.
For sure. I think you're very correct in that regard. We've seen it multiple times, right?
Yeah, I'm not too worried about our blockchain space. So the kind of, you know, freedom and accessibility centered blockchain space. Really, what this is opening the door for is a hyper compliant blockchain space, which is what a lot of big firms and a lot of governments want, which is unfortunate and annoying, and really it's like we foresaw this, so we are kind of in a good space in terms of compliance, but it may kill a lot of teams that aren't thinking way ahead and don't have their legal stuff in order. So it just is awkward and stressful for everybody. But hopefully, like it turns out well. And usually, disasters nowadays, in the time of the internet, where entire communities and nations and whatever can rally behind the targeted parties, a lot of times they turn out pretty well, and I think they'll turn out well in kind of decentralization's favor.
We'll see. There's a lot of cool like young senators that are pushing for some solid Web3 legislation, but it could take a while to see. But yeah, very cool stuff. There's a question here I wanted to ask and then elaborate on. Freak Show said, "What does Phantom need to bounce back as the DeFi builder home of choice?" And this has been something we have been talking about a lot. Nobody is building on Phantom. You look at the contracts being deployed. There's like it is in the gutter compared to where it was. We're not bouncing at support. It's
Yeah.
dumping.
Yeah, they just
you
need to
know,
invest in developer relations, and make those make grants available. I would say I would not ask for a grant from the Phantom Foundation. They need to focus on getting teams of 2 to 3 that are research focused and hyper productive, identifying them and giving them money. And then all of their growth will kind of trickle upwards.
yeah.
And you know, as people take profits from their investments in those teams, they'll move them to bigger companies and bigger companies and bigger companies. They just need to have a team to engage with those smaller teams, help incubate them, and work with them on achieving a good compliance framework and achieving like a good business structure, which, you know, I think is a long way off for the foundation, but I think it's a little bit where they're headed. I just don't know if they'll make it in time to regain market share.
You
But
hear that,
we will see.
Juan? Juan, we're talking to you, Juan.
Dude,
Let's
Juan has been
chat,
doing
bro.
so good. Juan,
He has.
he's like, I mean, yeah, like
It's
if anyone,
leaps and bounds from where we were last year. But like
yeah.
my,
Interacting with
you
the
know,
foundation went from like interacting with, well, never mind. I'm gonna be nice, but
I just think I think they got lost in their growing pains.
yeah,
They were doing a very good job at the start, and I think they just need to
they got lost in the sauce, dude.
yeah
there was
they
a lot
just
of
need to
euphoria, right?
Yeah,
they just need to
they were fully lost in the sauce. They were
and
focused on moving to tax havens instead of managing their business.
but yeah
So
once they
it,
reconnect with their user base and the builders, which I think they're starting to get in that right direction again. With starting to connect with those external VCs and bring them in on. I think it's a step in the right direction, and like Beavis said, hopefully they can play the catch up game and get back to where they were, but definitely headed in the right direction.
The podcast is massive, I think.
Yeah.
Like opening up lines
sure.
of communication like that. I think it's going to be huge.
Yeah, communication.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Juan has taken them so much further in the last couple of months than they were getting with the community before that at all.
Yeah.
But additionally, like you said, I really think you're hitting the nail on the head with them facilitating the smaller teams with great ideas that are really there to build cool shit that can attract people.
Yeah.
Because that's ultimately, if you ask me, that's what brings liquidity is young, promising projects and exciting things. The shiny new penny is what brings people and brings liquidity. I hate to say it, but it doesn't have to be new project. It could be just new support. But in my experience, I've noticed that there's a lot more value in lifting up those lower level organic builders who are doing cool shit, that are innovating and attracting that organic DeFi TVL. That's gonna do so much fucking more, building a solid foundation on those lower levels that's just gonna trickle up, like you said.
If you can identify a hyper productive guy who's only working like part time and is working a full time job elsewhere, literally all you need to do is pay him to quit his job. And kind of let the magic happen. And $50,000 will give a team of two, like, depending on where they live and how they live, that'll give them 6 months of runway, which is enough time for some people to like go off and get a product launched and maybe even get real funding from VCs and get totally set up. So those are the guys they need to focus on, and there is a huge pool of them in this space. It's just identifying them and engaging with them in good faith is not easy.
I'd like to answer the important food questions in the AMA questions.
Let's get it.
One, creme brulee donuts are freaking amazing. I've had quite a few, and I don't know where you've had them, but they're delicious. Freak show. And two, pineapple definitely belongs on pizza. I don't care who disagrees with that.
I'll address Jeep Propulsion Engine has a few questions. So we are not working with Harry Ye on anything, but he has historically been extremely like kind to us, despite like us refusing a lot of business proposals. So I honestly, despite all the contention, like the guy.
Yeah.
But and as far as when derivatives DEX with limit orders, we try to stay out of the DEX game as a rule of thumb because it's way, 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 way harder to stay compliant. But as far as like derivatives, I mean, almost everything we work on has like some connection to derivatives. Like our vault tokens are technically derivatives, relics are derivatives. All of these things that create leverage from underlying assets are derivatives. And our goal as a company and our goal as like an engineering firm is to build on those derivatives until they become the most efficient investment vehicles in this space. So, I mean, you could consider our stablecoin will be a derivative. That's kind of how we achieve greater than 100% capital efficiency while maintaining full collateralization. It's by issuing derivatives and ensuring that we manage debt and assets underlying in such a way that it delivers the most value possible to the end user.
That's exactly what's needed, and I was just gonna say that's exactly the same way that Entangle plans on tackling it. I'm really excited about this stuff. That's cool shit. So really quick before we start wrapping this up, because I know we're taking a long time. you ain't getting off the hook without talking about Oath token, what's happening, and what the plans are. When only up, and when 1,000 APR.
Yeah, I mean, only up has been kind of like our real narrative. I mean, of course, we went down like with the entire market, but as far as our relationship to other assets, we've been doing pretty good. And recently, we uh, began papering up the Oath Foundation. So months of conversation and work with lawyers is resulting in having an actual legal entity that can house our DeFi, which will unlock like an insane amount of BD opportunities, which we've been kind of simmering in the background. And then beyond that, recently we have switched our asset pairing primarily from Phantom to USDC. So you'll probably see Oath a lot more stable for the time being. Not that that's necessarily what everyone wants, but we're still technically in a bear market. So we're being really defensive with our protocol and liquidity. So you will see Oath being like a really great hedge against the downside. So if a lot of the assets you hold are paired to Phantom, they're going to see kind of an order of magnitude greater exposure to downside volatility.
Right.
Of course, we lose exposure to the upside, but until our whole product suite is out, we're not super duper interested in being a shitcoin. And
So
then beyond
you
that, go
really
ahead.
quick, you got the high emission phase is tapering off, right?
Oh, I mean that tapered off 3-4 months ago or whatever. Like
Wasn't
as
there a
far as from
second,
the
like a second,
LGE.
wasn't like a second phase where it's reducing?
No, I mean May 23rd was like a 100x drop, or from February to May, the emissions of Oath dropped like 100 times, and right now they're like on the floor. So very little new Oath is coming into the market, which is actually a problem for growth because without float, people won't perceive a lot of opportunity. So there's not going to be a lot of volatility until we start emitting tokens, and emitting
Yeah.
tokens during a bear market is not the smartest thing to do. So
Okay.
we're really focused on building out use cases right now. So like our stablecoin, um, you know, I like all of our revenue for the most part will programmatically be driven into Oath, and the same will apply to some of our other software coming out. Reliquary, once we decide it's time for 1,000% APY, not that that's actually going to happen, but once we start emitting to Oath, like I said earlier, we can start expecting a larger percentage of bonding and growth in that way, taking assets off the market and lowering the supply. So, you
Okay.
know, there are a lot of efforts kind of happening in tandem. We're still taking our time. We're still like, we're not trying to be a pump and dump scheme. But I think as far as growth of the company and growth of Oath, in the next year, I imagine we'll outperform most other parties. And I guess I can't technically say that, so this is not financial advice, and I'm not a financial professional, but just
Of
with our
course
development
not.
roadmap alone, conservatively, I'm extremely optimistic, and I'm maybe overexposed, so I am a bag holder. There's my disclosure. But like, I think the prospects are really massive, and people aren't really ready for what's coming for them. As far as our releases, like Jaws will 100% drop to the floor. But I'm not going to get too
So
much into that.
real quick. Okay. First of all, pump Beebus's bags and
Pump
our
my bag.
bags.
Come on.
Um, Second of all, Oath Token's gonna be playing a large part in your new platform. I'm assuming. Is that what Reliquary is?
No, that's the stablecoin. I mean, Reliquary
Oh,
will have its
okay,
own
okay.
use cases, but that's that's more of like
So that's just the name of the stable.
Reliquary is like for onboarding, and it's for what's the name of the stable? What are you saying?
Can you cover what Reliquary is for me real quick? I think I was confused.
Yeah, Reliquary is like a DeFi incentive management platform. So it allows us to issue incentives in maturity tranches without having to lock assets. And it allows us to do a bunch of like crazy stuff as far as how we reward people. So we can reward on deposits, we can award based on a vesting schedule, we can award based on all sorts of crazy parameters. Um, and we can do it like really, really efficiently. I would go to learn.fi and read our last development update to get a decent idea of how it works mathematically. But the whole point is delivering maximum value to the user without having to over emit tokens.
So this is the next product then.
This is one of our next products. I mean, we're a team of 35. We have like a lot of
Right.
product pipelines.
I would assume, yeah. So you're talking about a collection of products then that are in the pipeline coming, and high utilization of Oath, I'm assuming, and the new stablecoin.
Yeah, basically. I mean, like, we're in BD conversations right now, which means like, you know, um, potentially multi-million-dollar conversations. So spec may change depending on what our partners want in exchange for their services or their capital or whatever. But Reliquary is pretty much set in stone. That's about done. Really, the thing holding that up is right now our multi-strategies, and then the market being so bad makes emitting tokens kind of a bad idea. But yeah, that and our stablecoin. Honestly, like we have enough
What
products
about
that
revenue-backed tokens?
revenue-backed tokens. Everything is a revenue-backed token to a certain extent. It's just a lot of companies have no revenue. But yeah, it's
That's
as
that's
far
the
as
challenge, Beebs.
yeah, I mean, we have like if you saw our financial report for the last 12 months, your jaw might drop. I mean, bear market hasn't been that forgiving, but we're probably one of the highest revenue producing companies on Phantom.
You
The
guys
whole
are
bull
madmen.
cycle.
You're
So
absolute madmen. Yeah.
yeah, sorry, I have like a meeting 11 minutes ago, so I'm talking faster and
Oh
swagging.
man, I'm gonna let you go then, but um can we keep Asrium and Crypto AS for a few more? You guys all gotta jump.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah, you can definitely hang out with
I
them.
Yeah,
won't
we
be as full of technical information like Beavis, but more than happy to stay around.
Yeah, definitely. I would say my last thing is like if you're interested, go to lrn.fi and read our
Yeah.
last development report, and that will outline everything in an organized way so there aren't any crossed wires. But yeah, otherwise, I do need to bounce. And thank you very, very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed talking to Azrim and Andrew. And yeah, I will catch you all later.
Thank you so much for your time, Beavis. This is totally awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Take care. Bye bye.
Have a good one, man.
Beavis kind of segued into a good question answer here. I know Freak Show question was the engagement on LearnFi. There's been a lot of uptake in the engagement on LearnFi, even though it's a bear market. We've actually had community contributors as of late come on board as well. And it does seem that people are actually starting to get themselves a little bit more familiar with all the protocols that we review with the Learn documents, and it does seem to have a net positive. We have a lot of people thank us for clarifying on how things work or just keeping them in the loop of what's going on.
Yeah, I'll just add on. I think for scale, we've had about 10,000 users so far, which is pretty incredible considering it's only been live for a few months.
Unique users?
Yeah,
Unique users.
Holy shit, you guys. That's fucking really, really good.
Yeah, and we're expecting it to grow a little bit more as we continue to expand to other chains, and put out more content on, say, Optimism or Near, et cetera, and as we, get more community contributors and our content continues to increase, I'd expect that number to go up.
When Google ad revenue used for token buybacks?
So Unfortunately, Google Ads does not allow crypto-related stuff, and it's very hard to loophole Google, as you all know.
Yeah.
So
Isn't there alternate services that actually are very crypto?
there are so things like Brave are very crypto friendly. They charge an arm and a leg, but definitely worth considering in the long run. And then you have things like Twitter, of course, that's very crypto friendly for the most part. And since it's educational material and it's not necessarily shilling, the next pump and dump, both those platforms kind of make it ideal to, put yourself onto exposure for learn.
Yeah, cool shit. Yeah, education is key. You guys, are you planning to build like a knowledge base, and then additionally, do you think that there's any chance in the future of maybe providing APIs so that other platforms could utilize your knowledge base for implementation into their protocol potentially?
Definitely yes to both of those. I mean, the whole point of Learn is to essentially be like that center hub of knowledge for people to access.
Bro,
And then,
come on.
what's-
Sorry. No, I'm just as fucking exciting, dude. This is like shit that I really would love. Like, I'd love to have like a Discord bot, bro, that we could just like, you could put in a search term and it prints out like an article on support and resistance, or like, you know what I mean? Like,
that'd be dope. And it is in the cards, definitely. It's just, I think once the dev team is kind of like wound down from all these projects or has a little bit of, breathing room, we can start investigating into, upgrading the Learn website, and then, plugging in those APIs for that information.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't noticed recently, we have been working on the Learn website. It's actually like we just increased its loading speed by like 14x like last week. So
Yeah,
we're super
which means a
excited.
lot for SEO.
Yeah, it does. We're super excited to see how it grows.
yeah, man, it's cool shit. I'm really, really supportive of all of this stuff, and love to see it in the space. So, if you guys ever need beta testing, people to help test the product when it comes to this educational stuff, would fucking love to help out, provide feedback, what our users would like to see, etc. That stuff could be very valuable for you.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And we appreciate that. I'll bring that up in the next Learn meeting that I go to.
For sure, yeah. I know you guys are probably, this isn't the primary focus, right? You guys have to keep focus on the revenue generating stuff and all the stuff that's coming down the pipe right now. But whenever there's time, that we fully support that and helping you guys test and stuff. That would be badass.
Yeah, definitely. We do. I mean, we do have a team dedicated to just pumping out Learn stuff, but mainly articles and learning material. But the rest of it is codependent on the devs. But yeah, no, definitely. Would love to have you guys, poke and prod if the Learn team permits.
Awesome. Sounds great, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm not like pressing too hard. Just I think it would be a cool thing if we could help out. I know that people here love that type of shit. Everybody's always looking for educational resources. I know there'd be a lot of feedback for you guys. So
yeah,
cool. I think one last question that kind of got skipped over in the community questions was about the clowns. What's going on with the circus?
So the circus, I know they have some lineups for the release of the promised airdrops from the other artists. It's kind of taken a little bit of a back burner at the moment just because all of our resources have been allocated to all our major platforms. As far as integration, I can't speak on that. I don't want to promise too much or too little. I'm sure they'll have some utility, but I don't know the full aspect of it yet. I'd have to sit with the clown team and kind of discuss that with them because there have been things that have been thrown around. It just picking the most optimal one that's going to be best for that specific project.
Yeah, we can maybe we can ask KB and some of the clown guys to join the Discord here, and maybe they can elaborate for you guys. I'm not totally
Bring him up.
so
Bring him out. Bring him out.
It might be a bit early for KB. It's only probably like
yeah, I meant join the
noon?
Discord in general, and he can like chat in the text because I think he's asleep right now.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, there's
We got
Mace.
Papa in the building.
Mace is here. I forgot he's
Yo,
even
yo.
here. He's a
Hey,
quiet
Mace.
little ninja over here.
Oh, good. Lovely. How's it going, guys?
GM, I didn't see your request. I'm sorry.
No, I literally just put it up. I've just been listening very, very quietly.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah, I think Mace can speak a little about the clowns, right?
Yeah. I did not hear the question though. What was the question?
The utility, the future utility of the clowns.
We're just curious what's coming.
I think the main thing we're focusing on with the clowns right now is just making sure that our jobs actually go out on schedule. I don't think there's been too much actual discussion on where we move after this, just because obviously we had so many delays. We decided this time maybe we don't get ahead of ourselves and make sure everything's done first before we go with anything extra, basically. But yeah, that's pretty much all I can say. Kevin would know more because he's kind of the like brainchild behind the clowns. I was just the dev guy on this one. But yeah, I think Kevin has lots of fun ideas for it, but we just need to do one step at a time, basically.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's all that people need to hear is that you guys are not just leaving it in the dust, and it's just you guys obviously don't leave anything behind. It's very clear. You guys are nailing it on everything that I've seen. So, hats off to you guys on that.
I know we lightly touched base on this, but that you guys are building back-end strategies that were going to be eventually tokenized. That was my original idea of what reliquaries was going to occur out to from months ago. I think that's changed a little bit from the conversation today, but are the NFT tokenized implementation for strategies still something you guys are working on?
Yes, if I understand your question correctly. So the FNFTs are still going to be
Yes.
a part of the reliquary. I know Beavis didn't talk about that much, but yeah, it is still part of that platform.
Yeah, the FNFTs, like the NFT is like the fundamental part of like how the reliquary works because the NFT represents like your underlying position. So like all the user sees is an NFT that gives you nice visual updates on like what your position is, what your maturity is, like what tranche you're in, etc. Meanwhile, there might be a variety of different strategies that are being utilized on the back end that you guys don't know about.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
Or well, I guess I don't want to say don't know about, but because everything's verified, it's all there.
Right.
It's spread around. Same as kind of like how boot works, right? Our single-sided boot staking spreads it out for emissions and all that. So similar there.
Yeah, kind of in the same vein, it helps abstract some of the complexity of DeFi away from the user, right? So you guys don't have to worry as much, or how things work, but just know that you can always check the contracts on, FTN scan, et cetera. They're all out there.
Now, I know you guys are talking about the L2 thing when it comes to biz dev. How do we start a conversation about getting some Reaper farms set up for, like, let's say our token on Metis? Because I know you guys are talking about launching over there.
Yeah, so Granary is already actually, I think, soft launched on Metis. I think that is on the front end already, so you can go check it out. But yeah, just send me a DM because we're looking at options right now, and yeah, happy to start conversations and get things rolling.
All right, cool. Yeah, Sweet Cheeks knows, man. We've been on Metis for a while. We could definitely get you an audience with the Hermes team. They'd probably be interested as well with facilitating something. But yeah, for certain, we've been anticipating the Granary drop over there. You guys want to let us know when airdrop?
I can't officially say anything. We haven't publicly said anything yet, so I'm going to keep that alpha for the next time we chat.
Good. We've been long-term supporters, having everybody that we know use a granary. We even helped them anybody like soft shell and front run the AMA team coming on to Menace as well. So that was fun to be a part of.
Yeah, thanks, guys. No, we appreciate the help. We really do. And whenever I have more information that I can say, I definitely will tell you guys.
Jeep propulsion engine, go ahead.
Hello, sirs. I have question, please. Thank you for coming here, sir, in our poor Discord. I want to ask just a question about the multi-chain thing you guys are doing. Like you mentioned optimism, you mentioned Metis. You know, why nobody mentioned tube chain, sir?
Well, no.
Chain is sexy, sir. I hear it will be very free, very cheap, very fast. What do you guys think about it? I want to know this.
I am curious to see how things kind of develop on 2Chain over the next few months. It's got a lot of promise. I'm still waiting to see the adoption behind it. I know Harry's got a team of people working on it right now, but I'd like to see it get a little more mature before we start looking at that or having those conversations. It is brand new.
I'm trying to find data. I'm trying to find data still. I can't find data. Do you know where it is?
No, I personally don't know.
Thank you, sirs. Thank you for the answer. I very much appreciate your presence here. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
We
Suki.
appreciate you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Jeep Propulsion Engine. Yeah, I'm excited to see. I'm really excited to see everything that you guys put together. Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming. This has been a pleasure. It's long overdue. We should definitely be talking more. I feel like there's a lot of similarities between, the things that we want to see in the space and how to accomplish them. So I see a lot of promise there. So I'm gonna be talking to you for sure about Menace Chain. We could probably start there with some strategies for our protocol and lining up a partnership for you guys with Hermes and go from there. But I'm excited about the future. You guys are awesome, and yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us again.
This has been our 28th Investors AMA here at the TulipDAO, now providing AMAs and KYCs. This has been the ByteMasons. Thank you so much, fellas. Take care. Good night.
Let's go.